If you're over 60 and quietly struggling with fading erections, dull sensation, or low drive, this might not be about aging at all. It might be something far simpler. Something your body has been silently missing every morning. 3 specific vitamins could be draining your energy, confidence, and connection without you even realizing it. When was the last time you truly felt like yourself? As a man, not younger, not perfect, just you, strong, present, fully alive. In the next 3 minutes, I'll reveal the exact nutrients that helped George, a 68-year-old retired mechanic, restore his strength, rekindle intimacy, and feel more like himself again, without prescriptions, gimmicks, or shame. And right after that, I'll also show you the #1 mistake men over 60 make when taking supplements and how to avoid wasting months of effort. Stay with me. This might be the most important 3 minutes you've spent on your health in years. 1. George and the silent fade vitamin D connection. George was 65 when he first noticed it. Not pain, not illness, just absence. The absence of something that once made him feel fully alive. He used to wake up with energy, with drive. But now mornings felt heavy. His body moved slower, his mind a little foggier, and most disturbingly, he hadn't had a strong morning erection in weeks. George wasn't sick. He wasn't broken. So why did his masculinity feel like it was quietly slipping away? At first, he brushed it off. He blamed stress, then age, then his wife's distance. But deep down, he knew something was off. He still had urges, of course. He still felt desire. But his body didn't respond the same way. So, like many men do, George turned inward. He began relying more and more on solo pleasure, a few minutes here and there. Nothing extreme, but it became a routine. Private, predictable, easy, but what started as comfort became a silent culprit, one that sapped his strength from the inside out. One afternoon, George sat across from his new doctor, Dr. Keller, a quiet, sharp woman in her 50s who didn't mince words. George cleared his throat. I still, take care of things. But lately, it's like my body isn't listening. Dr. Keller didn't flinch. Instead, she asked him a question no one had asked before. How often do you go outside? George, do you get much sun? George blinked. Sun. Yes, she said. When was the last time you soaked in 20 minutes of direct sunlight? Early morning or late afternoon? George laughed nervously. It's been a while. I guess I'm more of a Netflix and recliner kind of guy. That's when Dr. Keller nodded and pulled out a chart. She explained something George had never connected to his masculinity: vitamin D. A 2010 study in hormone and metabolic research found that men with higher levels of vitamin D had significantly higher levels of testosterone. In fact, supplementation with vitamin D3 over 12 months increased total testosterone levels by up to 25% in men with low baseline levels. Doctor. Keller leaned in gently. George, low vitamin D doesn't just mean brittle bones. It means lower testosterone, slower nerve signaling, and weaker blood flow. George stared. He'd never thought that a simple deficiency could be the root of his slow decline. What if your low energy, poor sleep, and declining intimacy aren't signs of aging but symptoms of a vitamin you're missing every day? She prescribed him 3 things. 1. Daily morning walks, shirt sleeves rolled up. 2. A liquid vitamin D3 supplement 5,000 IU daily with food. 3. A journal to track not just physical changes, but how he felt. Track your morning drive, she said. Track your confidence. 2 weeks in, George noticed the fog lifting. He began waking with firmer erections. His energy returned not all at once, but enough to feel like himself again. But more than the physical shift, something emotional happened. He no longer needed solo pleasure to feel alive. He began reaching for his wife's hand again. He opened up to her, gently and honestly. They even began taking walks together, soaking in sun, soaking in time. Sometimes, reclaiming your vitality isn't about giving something up. It's about putting something back in. George learned that his nightly habits weren't wrong, but they had become a replacement for what he truly needed: connection, purpose, and most surprisingly, vitamin D. He didn't have to quit masturbation. He had to balance it and nourish the very systems that supported his drive in the first place. And that was only the beginning. Frank and the numbness, vitamin B12 and nerve reconnection. Frank was a 68-year-old retired machinist. Quiet, private, proud. He'd been married for 42 years. But for the last 3, he and his wife had barely touched each other. Not because they didn't care, but because something in Frank had gone numb. He still tried. He still had urges. But the pleasure was muted, blunted, distant. For Frank, it wasn't about performance anymore. It was about feeling, and the terrifying realization that he couldn't. At first, he thought it was normal, maybe just age, maybe stress. But when he was alone, even with explicit content, he struggled to reach the same satisfaction. It took longer. It felt more mechanical, and afterward, emptier. Then, one night, he noticed something even worse: a tingling, a slight burning sensation, a numb patch of skin that didn't feel anything. Frank wasn't losing desire. He was losing nerve function. When he finally confided in his doctor, he was hesitant. "I'm not here for pills or patches," he said. "I just want to feel like a man again. Not broken." Dr. Stein, a men's health specialist, listened carefully. Then he asked Frank 2 questions. How often do you sit for long periods? How much vitamin B are you getting? Frank was confused. What does that have to do with anything? A lot, Dr. Stein replied. Especially if you're over 60. Nerves don't just die overnight, they fade when they're not nourished. And vitamin B12 is what your nerves are begging for. According to the National Institutes of Health, vitamin B12 deficiency is very common in adults over 60 due to decreased stomach acid. B12 is essential for nerve repair, neurotransmitter function, and the formation of myelin, the protective sheath around nerves. Dr. Stein showed Frank a simple diagram, a connection between the spinal nerves, pelvic floor, and sexual function. He explained how long hours sitting, poor blood flow, and a B12 deficiency can all contribute to numbness in genital areas, delayed or absent sensation, loss of spontaneous erections, emotional disconnection from intimacy. If your body can't feel, your heart can't connect. And no one tells you it could start with a vitamin. Frank was stunned. He thought he was just getting older. But in reality, his nerves were starving. Dr. Stein prescribed high-dose methylcobalamin B12, the active form absorbable by older adults. Celtobis or Baquaspis, full-spectrum B complex for B6 and folate synergy. Séance short walking breaks every 45 minutes. Guided breathing plus pelvic floor reactivation exercises. It didn't take long. After 3 weeks, Frank noticed a spark, a tingling warmth during intimacy, a deeper connection during touch. His wife noticed too, not in what he did, but in how he was present again. Sometimes the fix isn't more stimulation, it's restoring the nerves that let you feel in the first place. Frank made a habit of checking in with his body each morning. He stopped using external content. He began reconnecting with real sensations, real moments. And for the first time in years, he didn't just function. He felt not like his 20-year-old self, but like a grounded, awake, living man in his late 60s. The numbness didn't vanish overnight, but it didn't control him anymore. He had taken the power back. 3. James and the silent burnout, vitamin E and hormonal restoration. James was a 71-year-old retired pilot, sharp, strong-willed, disciplined. He had flown planes for over 30 years across oceans, across continents. But now, grounded in retirement, he found himself struggling with a different kind of turbulence. He still walked every day, still ate clean, still kept a routine. But something had changed. James didn't feel like a man anymore, not in strength, not in confidence, not even in identity. He wasn't depressed, he wasn't sick, but deep down, he felt a slow fade, like the fire inside was quietly dimming. No morning arousal, no interest in intimacy, no drive to pursue anything, even his old hobbies. He still masturbated occasionally out of habit, not desire, but even that felt empty, disconnected, forced. His doctor called it late-onset hypogonadism. but James called it losing himself. One day, during a routine blood panel, his testosterone came back at 223 NDL, barely above clinical deficiency. His inflammatory markers were elevated, and his blood vessels weren't as flexible as they used to be. James was a man who did everything right, but something inside him was breaking down anyway. That's when his new health coach introduced something James had never considered: vitamin E. Not for his skin, not for his eyesight, but for his manhood at the biological level. According to the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, vitamin E is a potent antioxidant that helps reduce oxidative stress and preserve Leydig cells, which produce testosterone. A 2013 study also found that vitamin E supplementation improved sperm quality, erectile response, and testosterone levels in aging males. James was skeptical, but his coach explained that years of accumulated oxidative damage from stress, from overuse, from poor recovery had slowly worn down his body's hormonal engine. He wasn't lacking desire, he was lacking biological fuel. His testicles couldn't produce testosterone like before. His blood vessels had become stiff, and his brain's sensitivity to pleasure hormones had dulled. Vitamin E, specifically natural D-alpha tocopherol, could help reduce inflammation, restore blood vessel health, and reignite hormonal function. So James committed. Each morning, he began eating a small handful of raw almonds or sunflower seeds, adding a tablespoon of cold-pressed olive oil to his lunch, taking a natural vitamin E supplement, 400 IU with dinner. He also limited solo release to once a week, paired with breathing exercises and 20-minute walks outdoors. And slowly, things shifted. His mood lifted. His drive returned. He started waking with firmer erections again, not because of fantasy, but because his system remembered how sometimes the body forgets, not because it's broken, but because it hasn't been nourished in years. One night, over dinner, his wife reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. He didn't fake a smile. He leaned in, fully present, fully alive. That night, intimacy returned. It wasn't fireworks, it was warmth, connection, and a sense of manhood rekindled. James wasn't chasing performance anymore. He was rebuilding his foundation cell by cell. You don't need to feel young to feel like a man again. You just need to support the hormones that make you one. After 2 months, his testosterone was up by 18%. His CRP inflammatory marker had dropped, and he told his coach with a grin, "I feel like I'm back in the cockpit, not flying jets, but flying my life again." And that was the moment he stopped surviving and started living again. You're still a man, and you still matter. 3 men, 3 stories, 3 quiet battles that no one ever saw. George thought his issue was shameful, but it turned out to be a deficiency in circulation, not character. All he needed was the spark of vitamin D to open the gates again. Frank thought he was going numb. But what he truly lacked was nerve fuel, the invisible wiring of manhood. And when B12 returned, so did sensation, connection, presence. James thought he was fading away, but deep inside, the fire was still there. It just needed vitamin E to protect it from the slow corrosion of time and stress. These were not broken men. They were just undersupported, undernourished, and overlooked. And maybe, so are you. If you've ever felt like your energy is gone, if you've noticed your desire shrinking, your performance dipping, your sense of identity slipping, let me say this clearly. It's not too late. You're not past your prime. You're simply running low on what your body once produced easily and what it can still rebuild with the right support. Here's your simple, powerful takeaway. Vitamin D to open your blood vessels and awaken your circulation. Vitamin B12 to restore sensation, stamina, and brain clarity. Vitamin E to guard your hormones and protect your drive. These aren't pills for performance. They're fuel for vitality. And no, you don't need to chase youth. You need to support the man you still are. So what's next? You can close this video and go back to just managing. Or you can make one small shift. Add 15 minutes of sunlight to your morning. Include almonds, spinach, and eggs in your meals. Choose high-quality supplements that actually absorb. And most of all, treat yourself with the respect you've earned. You've carried others your whole life. Now it's time to carry yourself. If this video spoke to you, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Tell me which part hit home for you most. Like this video if you felt seen, and subscribe. Because I make these videos for you, the man who refuses to quietly fade. And finally, if you know another man, a friend, a brother, even your younger self who needs to hear this message, share it. Because strength, intimacy, and confidence don't belong to the young. They belong to you, and they begin again today.